His mother found the notebook hidden under his mattress 3 weeks after he died. Inside, written in Carlo's careful handwriting, were dozens of entries about the Rosary that she had never seen before. Private reflections, personal experiences, supernatural encounters that he'd never told anyone about. And on the final page, dated just 2 days before his death, Carlo had written something that made his mother drop to her knees in tears. The Rosary is the weapon they fear most. If people knew what I know about the Rosary, every Catholic would pray it every single day. What did Carlo know? What had he experienced during those years of daily Rosary prayer that convinced him it was the most powerful weapon available to believers? And why did he keep these revelations private, hidden in a journal that wasn't discovered until after his death, when it was too late to ask him what he meant? The answers to these questions have been carefully guarded by Carlo's family and spiritual directors for years. But certain details are now emerging that explain why this teenage saint, who is famous for his love of the Eucharist, was equally devoted to the Rosary. What he discovered about Mary's gift to the Church, what happened when he prayed it daily, and what he learned about spiritual warfare through the Rosary will transform how you understand those beads you might have sitting unused in a drawer somewhere. Because Carlo's message about the Rosary isn't gentle encouragement to pray more. It's an urgent warning that we're in a war, that the enemy is winning battles we don't even know we're losing, and that the Rosary is the weapon heaven provided specifically for this moment. But only if we actually use it the way it was meant to be used. Hit that like button right now if you're ready to discover what a teenage saint knew about the Rosary that most Catholics have never learned, and subscribe immediately, because what you're about to hear could save your soul and your family. Turn on notifications, because this message is too urgent to miss. Let's start with what everyone knows. Carlo Acutis prayed the Rosary daily from age 7 until his death at 15. His mother Antonia has testified that Carlo never missed a day of Rosary prayer during those 8 years. Even when he was sick with leukemia, even when he was in pain, even when he was too weak to get out of bed, Carlo insisted on praying his daily Rosary. But here's what most people don't know. Carlo didn't just pray the Rosary out of duty or habit. He prayed it because of specific experiences that convinced him the Rosary had supernatural power that exceeded almost any other prayer form available to Catholics. And those experiences, documented in his private journal and confirmed by people close to him, reveal truths about the Rosary that the Church has taught for centuries, but that most modern Catholics have completely forgot. The first entry in Carlo's Rosary journal is dated May 13, 2003, when Carlo was 12 years old. He wrote, "Today is the feast of Our Lady of Fatima. I've been praying the Rosary every day for 5 years, but today something happened that changed everything. I finally understand what the Rosary actually is." What happened on that day? According to Carlo's journal entry and what he later told his spiritual director, he had been praying the Rosary in his family's chapel when he had what he called a moment of supernatural clarity. He suddenly understood that the Rosary wasn't just a meditation on the life of Christ. It was actual spiritual warfare happening in the invisible realm every time he prayed it. Carlo wrote, "When I pray the Rosary, I'm not just remembering events from Jesus' life. I'm actually there, not physically but spiritually. My prayers join with Mary's prayers, and together we're fighting battles in the spiritual realm that I can't see but that are completely real. Every Hail Mary is like a blow against the enemy. Every decade is like advancing in a battle. The Rosary isn't passive, it's active warfare." Share this video immediately if this understanding of the Rosary as warfare weapon is completely different from how you've thought about it. Someone needs to hear this before they give up on prayer. This realization transformed how Carlo prayed the Rosary. He stopped rushing through it. He stopped letting his mind wander. He started praying each decade with intense focus, imagining that he was actually engaged in spiritual combat with every word. And that's when he began experiencing things that convinced him the Rosary's power was real and not just metaphorical. Carlo's journal documents several specific incidents where praying the Rosary produced immediate, visible results in spiritual battles. Let me share 3 that his family has permitted to be made public. The first incident occurred in June 2003, about a month after Carlo's initial revelation about the Rosary. A classmate of Carlo's, a boy named Alessandro, had been acting strangely. He was normally friendly and engaged, but suddenly he became withdrawn, angry, and started saying disturbing things about wanting to hurt himself. The school counselor was concerned but couldn't figure out what was wrong. Carlo felt strongly that Alessandro's problem wasn't just psychological but spiritual. He wrote in his journal, "I think there's something attacking Alessandro spiritually. I don't know if it's demonic or just serious temptation, but I feel like I'm supposed to pray the Rosary for him specifically." For 9 consecutive days, Carlo prayed the entire 15-decade Rosary specifically for Alessandro's liberation from whatever spiritual oppression was affecting him. On the 10th day, Alessandro approached Carlo at school and said, "I don't know what happened, but I feel completely different, like something that was weighing on me is gone. I can breathe again." Alessandro never returned to the dark state he'd been in, and when Carlo told his spiritual director about this, the priest confirmed what Carlo suspected. "You fought a spiritual battle for your friend through the Rosary and you won. That's exactly what the Rosary is designed to do." Comment below if you've experienced the Rosary producing specific, visible results in spiritual battles. Your testimony helps others understand this weapon's power. The second incident was more dramatic and involved Carlo's own family. In October 2004, Carlo's parents were going through a severe crisis in their marriage. His father was considering leaving. The arguments had become constant. The household atmosphere was toxic. 13-year-old Carlo was watching his family disintegrate. Instead of just being sad or angry, Carlo turned to the Rosary with strategic intensity. He wrote in his journal, "I'm going to storm heaven with the Rosary for my parents' marriage. Our Lady appeared at Fatima and said the Rosary could prevent wars and bring peace. My parents' marriage is a war right now. The Rosary should be able to bring peace here too." Carlo began praying not just one rosary per day, but 3 complete rosaries daily for his parents' marriage. In the morning, at midday, and at night. 15 decades, 3 times per day. That's 45 decades of the rosary every single day in addition to daily mass and his other prayers. He maintained this for 40 days straight. His mother, Antonia, didn't know Carlo was doing this, but she later testified that around day 30 of Carlo's rosary campaign, something shifted in her heart toward her husband. The anger that had felt permanent began to soften. She found herself remembering why she had fallen in love with him. She started being willing to forgive and to work on the relationship. Carlo's father experienced a similar shift. The desire to leave faded. The willingness to fight for the marriage returned. By day 40 of Carlo's prayer offensive, his parents had reconciled and begun the process of healing their relationship. Years later, after Carlo's death, when Antonia read her son's journal and discovered what he'd done, she wept. "My son saved our marriage through the Rosary," she said. "He was 13 years old and he understood spiritual warfare better than most adults ever will." If you're still watching, subscribe to this channel right now. We reveal practical applications of Catholic faith that produce real results in real life. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. The third incident Carlo documented was the most personal and the most terrifying. In January 2005, Carlo himself came under serious spiritual attack. He began experiencing what he described as oppressive thoughts that I know aren't from me, thoughts of despair, of giving up his faith, of believing that everything he believed was a lie. Carlo recognized these weren't his natural thoughts but attacks from the enemy trying to destroy his faith. He wrote, "I'm under attack, I can feel it. Something is trying to make me doubt everything. The thoughts are so strong sometimes that I'm afraid I might believe them. I need the Rosary more than ever." Carlo increased his Rosary prayer to the full 15 decades every day, praying it slowly and deliberately, invoking Mary's protection with every Hail Mary. He also added something specific that he recorded in his journal. "I'm praying the Rosary as a weapon not just against the enemy but as a shield. Every bead becomes part of a wall of protection around my mind and heart." He maintained this intensified Rosary practice for 3 weeks. During that time, the attacks continued but gradually weakened. By week 4, they had stopped completely. Carlo wrote, "The attack is over. The Rosary worked. It didn't work instantly, but it worked completely. I understand now why Our Lady keeps appearing at places like Fatima and Lourdes asking people to pray the Rosary. It's because she knows what we're facing and she's given us the weapon that defeats it." These 3 incidents, all documented in Carlo's journal and confirmed by people who knew him, reveal a pattern in how Carlo understood and used the Rosary. He didn't see it as optional devotion for especially pious people. He saw it as essential warfare weapon for anyone serious about their faith and about protecting themselves and others from spiritual attack. But Carlo's message about the Rosary goes deeper than just these battle stories. In his journal, he articulated specific principles about the Rosary that every Catholic needs to understand. Let me share the 7 most important ones. Principle 1. The Rosary is more powerful when prayed daily than when prayed occasionally. Carlo wrote, "Praying the Rosary once in a while when you're desperate is like picking up a sword once a year and expecting to know how to fight. Daily Rosary prayer trains you in spiritual warfare. It builds momentum. It creates consistent pressure against the enemy that he can't withstand." Carlo compared daily rosary prayer to military training. "Soldiers don't just learn to fight right before battle," he wrote. "They train every day so that when battle comes, their responses are automatic. Daily rosary prayer is spiritual training so that when temptation or attack comes, your response is automatic. You reach for the weapon you already know how to use." Principle 2. The rosary works best when prayed slowly and meditatively, not rushed. Carlo was critical of people who raced through the rosary just to check it off their list. He wrote, "When you rush the rosary, you're like a soldier firing his weapon without aiming. You might hit something, but you won't hit what you're trying to hit. Slow, focused rosary prayer is like a sharpshooter. Every word, every bead, every meditation is aimed at a specific spiritual target." Carlo's practice was to spend at least 20 minutes on a 5-decade rosary. He would pause between decades to really enter into the mystery. He would pray each Hail Mary slowly enough to mean it. "Quality over quantity," he wrote. "One slow, focused rosary is worth more than 3 rushed ones." Like this video and share it everywhere if you're realizing you've been praying the rosary wrong and need to change your approach. Your sharing might help someone else discover the rosary's true power. Principle 3. The rosary should be prayed for specific intentions, not just in general. Carlo was very strategic about his rosary prayer. Every day he would choose a specific intention before he started praying. Sometimes it was for a person, sometimes for a situation, sometimes for protection against a specific temptation, but he always prayed with focus and direction. "The rosary is a weapon," Carlo wrote. "You don't fire a weapon randomly hopping to hit something. You aim at a target. Every rosary should have a target. Who or what are you praying for today? Name it, focus on it. Direct every Hail Mary toward that specific intention." Carlo kept a prayer list of people and situations he was praying for through the rosary. He would rotate through them, making sure each intention received at least 1 full rosary per week. This disciplined approach made his prayer concrete rather than abstract. Principle 4. The rosary is especially powerful when offered for others rather than just for yourself. Carlo noticed that his rosary prayers seemed most effective when he was interceding for others rather than asking for things for himself. He wrote, "Mary is a mother. Mothers respond most powerfully when you ask them to help their other children. When I pray the rosary for my own needs, it's powerful. But when I pray for someone else, it feels like Mary moves heaven and earth to help them." This became Carlo's practice. Every rosary included at least 1 decade specifically for someone else's need. He believed this aligned his prayer with Mary's maternal heart and made it more effective. Principle 5. The rosary combats specific sins and temptations. Carlo discovered that different mysteries of the rosary were particularly effective against different types of spiritual attacks. He wrote extensive notes about this in his journal. For example, he found that meditating on the agony in the garden while praying the rosary was powerful against temptations to give up or despair. "When I'm tempted to quit," he wrote, "I pray the first sorrowful mystery and remember that Jesus felt the same temptation in the garden but chose to persevere. That gives me strength to keep going." He found the joyful mysteries powerful against sadness and depression. The glorious mysteries were effective against doubts about faith. The luminous mysteries helped him when he was confused about God's will. "The rosary isn't one size fits all," Carlo wrote. "Different mysteries address different spiritual battles. Learn which mysteries help you with which struggles and pray strategically." Principle 6. The rosary creates a protective spiritual atmosphere around your home and family. Carlo believed that regular rosary prayer in a home literally changed the spiritual atmosphere of that place. He wrote, "I can feel the difference between homes where the rosary is prayed and homes where it isn't. It's like the air is different, lighter, clearer. There's peace instead of tension." Carlo encouraged his friends' families to pray the rosary together. He believed family rosary prayer created spiritual protection around the household that individual prayer couldn't match. "When a family prays the rosary together," he wrote, "they're building a spiritual fortress around their home. The enemy can't easily enter where the rosary is prayed regularly." Principle 7. The rosary prepares you for suffering and helps you endure it. This principle became personally relevant when Carlo was diagnosed with leukemia. He wrote about how his 8 years of daily rosary prayer had prepared him for suffering in ways he couldn't have anticipated. "The sorrowful mysteries aren't just meditation," he wrote from his hospital bed. "They're training. For 8 years I've been meditating on Jesus' suffering. I didn't know I was preparing myself for my own suffering, but the rosary taught me how to suffer with Jesus instead of alone. It taught me how to offer pain instead of just enduring it. The rosary prepared me for this." In his final weeks, Carlo prayed the Rosary daily despite pain and weakness. His mother would pray it with him when he was too weak to hold the beads, and he insisted that the Rosary was giving him grace to face death with peace rather than fear. Comment below which of these 7 principles is most challenging or most needed in your own prayer life. Your honesty helps create community of support. But here's what Carlo emphasized most in his journal, the message he wanted everyone to understand about the Rosary. Most Catholics don't pray it at all, and most who do pray it don't understand its power. He wrote extensively about this tragedy. The Rosary is like a powerful medicine, Carlo wrote, but most Catholics never take the medicine, and the few who do take it don't understand the dosage or how it works, so they don't get the full benefit. Then they wonder why their spiritual life is weak, why they keep losing battles with temptation, why they don't experience God's power. It's because they're not using the weapon Mary gave them specifically for these battles. Carlo was frustrated by Catholics who claimed to love Mary but never prayed her Rosary. You can't claim to honor Mary while ignoring her most specific request, he wrote. She's appeared over and over asking for the Rosary, not just suggesting it, demanding it, and we ignore her. Then we wonder why our families are falling apart, why our faith is weak, why we're losing our children to the world. It's because we're trying to fight spiritual warfare without the weapon heaven provided. In his journal's final entries, written just days before his death, Carlo made a prediction that his mother finds haunting. He wrote, "I think in the future, after I'm gone, people will need the Rosary more than ever. The spiritual attacks will get worse. The family will be under assault. Faith will be tested in ways my generation hasn't seen. The people who survive spiritually will be the ones who prayed the Rosary. The ones who didn't will fall away." Looking at the church today, almost 20 years after Carlo wrote those words, we can see his prediction was accurate. Families are disintegrating. Faith is collapsing among young people. Catholics are leaving the church in massive numbers, and the Catholics who remain faithful often cite the Rosary as essential to their perseverance. So what do we do with Carlo's message about the Rosary? How do we implement his insights practically? Let me give you a clear action plan based on Carlo's 7 principles. First, commit to daily Rosary prayer starting today, not when you feel like it, not when you have time, daily. Make it non-negotiable, like brushing your teeth or eating meals. Carlo proved through his life that daily Rosary prayer is possible for anyone, no matter how busy, if you make it a priority. Start with 5 decades if 15 feels overwhelming, but do it every day. Set a specific time, morning, evening, or lunch break. Find when works for you and protect that time. Carlo prayed in the morning before school. You find your time and guard it. Second, pray slowly, 20 minutes minimum for 5 decades. Don't rush, don't multitask, don't pray while doing other things. Give the Rosary your full attention. Carlo said that's when it becomes powerful. Third, choose a specific intention before you begin. Write it down if that helps. Focus every decade on that intention. Make your prayer strategic, not scattered. Fourth, learn to meditate on the mysteries while praying. Don't just recite words. Enter into the scenes. Imagine yourself there. Let the mysteries teach you about Jesus and Mary. Carlo's journal shows he did this daily, and it transformed his prayer from obligation into encounter. Fifth, pray for others more than for yourself. Offer at least 1 decade daily for someone else's need. This aligns your prayer with Mary's maternal heart and makes it more powerful. Sixth, fight your specific sins with appropriate mysteries. Learn which mysteries help you with which struggles. When you're tempted to give up, pray the agony in the garden. When you're sad, pray the joyful mysteries. Be strategic. Seventh, pray with your family whenever possible. If you're married with children, establish family Rosary time. Even if it's shortened or simplified for young kids, pray together. Carlo believed family Rosary creates spiritual protection nothing else can match. Subscribe to this channel right now for ongoing practical teaching on prayer and Catholic spiritual practices. We focus on what actually works, what produces real results in real life. Hit subscribe and ring that bell. Let me teach you the prayer Carlo would pray before each Rosary, recorded in his journal. This is the prayer he believed activated the Rosary's full power. Mary, Mother of God and my Mother, I come to pray your Rosary not just as a devotion but as a weapon in spiritual warfare. I don't fully understand how this prayer works, but I trust that you gave it to the church for this purpose. I offer this Rosary for name your specific intention. Unite my prayers with yours. Help me meditate deeply on these mysteries of your Son's life. Protect me as I pray from all distractions and attacks. Use this Rosary to defeat the enemy and bring victory, and name the specific battle you're fighting. Through this rosary, teach me what I need to learn, heal what needs healing in me, and fight the battles I cannot fight alone. Mary, conceived without sin, pray for us who have recourse to thee. Amen. Carlo prayed this or something similar before every rosary. It focused his intention, invoked Mary's help, and positioned the rosary as warfare rather than just devotion. Try praying this before your next rosary and see if it changes your experience. Let me also share the prayer Carlo prayed after each rosary, asking Mary to apply the fruits of his prayer where they were most needed. Mary, I've prayed this rosary for name your intention. I trust that you've heard every word and that you're already interceding with your Son for this need. If there are other intentions I should have prayed for but didn't know about, please apply the merits of this rosary where they're most needed. Protect my family, my friends, the church, and all those who have no one to pray for them. Thank you for the gift of the rosary. Help me never take it for granted. Amen. This prayer demonstrated Carlo's trust in Mary's wisdom to use his prayers most effectively, even beyond his specific intentions. In the comments, commit to starting daily rosary prayer based on Carlo's message. Write something like, I commit to praying the rosary daily for the next 30 days, or I'm going to pray the rosary Carlo's way and see what happens. Public commitment creates accountability. Carlo Acutis' message about the rosary is clear and urgent. This isn't optional devotion for especially holy people. It's essential warfare weapon for every Catholic serious about their faith, their family, and their eternal salvation. Mary keeps appearing and keeps asking for the rosary because she knows what we're facing and she's given us exactly what we need. The question is whether we'll finally listen, whether we'll take up the weapon heaven provided, whether we'll fight the battles that matter with the prayer that wins. Carlo fought those battles, he used that weapon. He lived 15 years of such faithfulness that the Church is moving him toward sainthood, and he credited the rosary as one of the primary keys to his holiness. His journal, his life, his testimony all point to the same conclusion. If you want to survive spiritually in this world, if you want your family to remain faithful, if you want to win battles against temptation and attack, you need to pray the rosary. Not occasionally, daily, not rushed, slowly and meditatively, not generically, strategically with specific intentions. The rosary is the weapon they fear most. Carlo knew that, he proved it, and he left his message for us. Don't try to fight spiritual warfare without the weapon Mary gave you specifically for this battle. May you have the courage to take up the rosary daily. May you experience the power Carlo discovered through 8 years of faithful prayer. May you win the battles that matter through the weapon heaven provided. And may you discover, as Carlo did, that the rosary isn't just beads and words but supernatural power that changes everything when wielded with faith, focus, and Mary's maternal guidance. The message has been delivered. The weapon has been identified. The choice is yours. Will you pray the rosary the way Carlo did? Will you use the weapon Mary gave you? Will you fight the battles that determine your eternal destiny with the prayer that wins? Carlo's hidden journal has revealed his message. The time for ignoring it is over. Pick up your rosary, pray it today and every day, and watch what heaven does when you finally use the weapon with the power to defeat the darkness.